Hi, I'm Barbara Calvi, licensed marriage and family therapist, and I want to welcome you to the Couples Corner. Today is part one in my three-part series on the desire gap. The number one sexual issue couples talk about when they're in my office is the gap between their sex drives. Sometimes it's fairly minor, and so it's pretty easy to work around, and other times it's significant enough that it causes one or both partners distress. And today I'm going to talk about the main reasons why there might be a desire gap in a relationship. First of all, when we meet someone new and get involved with them, there's all the novelty, there's all the anticipation, there's all that, oh, what's this going to be like? What's that going to be like? What's going to happen next? Right? And all that novelty creates sparks and some interesting and exciting sex. Not to mention that if you're falling in love with someone, there's this whole biochemical cascade that happens. Couples who come in who have a desire gap tell me often, boy, in the beginning of our relationship it was so easy. We didn't have to create a date night. We didn't have to put aside special time and make time to have sex. It just happened all the time. And then that's pretty disappointing. I mean, people know and expect that eventually that's going to slow down, but they don't necessarily anticipate that there's going to be this huge gap. So one of the reasons the gap happens is because two people come into the relationship with very different libidos. And it might be masked at first because of the novelty and because of the biochemical cascade. But as those things settle, then the gap begins, the different libidos begin to reveal themselves, and you could be with a partner who is much less of a drive than you have, or much more of a drive than you have, and this starts to be very distressing. Another reason why there can be a desire gap is some people, when they're not partnered or they're not in a serious relationship, have a fairly strong libido. They have no complaints about it. But they have this pattern that they get into relationships, and a short way into the relationship, their libido starts to change. Their desire and their sexual interest wanes. This tends to happen because some people have a lot of fear of that level and that kind of intimacy. Or they have a lot of messaging about sex and partners, and that partner sex should be always romantic and should be a particular way and can't be kind of hot and spicy. If that is what happens for you, if you've noticed a pattern that you have a libido, but then once you get into a relationship, after a certain period of time, you just lose sexual interest in every relationship, this may be part of what's at play. And sometimes for some people it has to do with also attachment issues. If this describes you, then I would invite you to consider finding a really skilled, well-trained therapist in your area to help you deal with some of the issues about intimacy and attachment so that you can break this pattern in your relationships. And a third reason why a desire gap might exist is that as we settle into long-term relationships, there are always things about a partner that they're the parts of them, the behaviors that they have that we don't necessarily love. And sometimes over time, dynamics can build in a way that one or both partners end up actually resenting their partner a lot. They hold on to a lot of anger that they're trying to suppress about their partner. They're unhappy about things. They feel maybe like, oh, I do so much for my partner and my partner really doesn't show up for me. They can feel slighted or hurt kind of repeatedly in a partner. My partner never takes my concerns seriously. And when these kinds of resentments start to build up, it becomes a big problem because there's nothing that kills libido faster than a really good load of resentment. If this is happening for you in your relationship, then it's really important that you sit down and start having hard conversations with your partner. And I don't mean conversations hard in the sense that you're yelling and blaming and being mean and rude about it. I mean from a heart-to-heart place. But they're going to be hard. And if you or your partner are someone that prefers not to talk about things because you're worried that it'll make it worse, then this is going to be particularly challenging for you. But it's going to be important to start having these conversations of what is not working for you in the relationship, what your built up resentments are that you're holding on to and why, and start to work through those. If you find that that's just feels impossible to do, or if you find you've been trying to do that but you're not making any headway, then again, I invite you to contact a really skilled, well-trained couples therapist in your area. And I have a previous video on this site that talks about what to look for in a couples therapist to make sure that they are well trained and really skilled. So check that one out as well. And join me in part 2 of my series, where I talk about a couple of strategies to help bridge the gap and what you can do about this, about your desire gap. And until next time, take good care.